Webster's dictionary defines a penance as a voluntary self-punishment, inflicted as an outward expression of repentance for having done wrong. If that's the case, then I'd like to ask Fat Shark, what have I done so wrong? Why do I have to do these penances? I know it's self-inflicted. I understand that. I'm choosing to do these penances. But why why do I have to do the game equivalent of crawling over broken glass? And for some of these, I have to do the game equivalent of dragging my team with me over the broken glass. Obviously, I'm pretty close to being done with all of them. I don't just have problems with the ones that I haven't finished yet. I have problems with some of the ones that I have finished. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about penances today. Firstly, I want to say that penances are good. They're good for the game. They give people something to work towards. I like that there's lots of rewards that you unlock incrementally. So good idea, right, for the health of the game. Some of the penances though are just straight up bad idea, and I've just got a bone to pick with a couple penances in particular. The first one I want to talk about is Munitorum's Favor. So this one, if you watch my stream, you saw me working on for 2 nights, and I'll break down exactly why that is. The Munitorum Favor requires you to shoot 4,500 free rounds of ammo, courtesy of burst limiter override. So what does that mean math-wise? Well, there's a 12% chance to shoot a free round if you have the full maxed out burst limiter override keystone, which you should if you're attempting this blessing, which means that we will have to shoot, on average, 37,500 rounds of ammunition. So straight away, this goes back to what I was saying about burst limiter override a couple days ago, which is that burst limiter override was very clearly designed for one weapon and one weapon only, and that's the twin link stubber. And if you are a wise person, if you're attempting this challenge, you will choose the fastest firing of the twin link stubbers, which is the Atlas. The Atlas fires at 10.75 rounds per minute. However, if you use your ultimate on the Ogren of point blank barrage, it increases your fire rate by 25% for its duration. And as far as I was able to tell, it continues as long as you continue firing and bracing the weapon, that 25% increase. So that sounds pretty good. That means we're firing 13.43 rounds per second, which is pretty good. Any guesses on what 37,500 rounds divided by 13 rounds per second ends up being? Post your comments in the chat. It ends up being around 2,800 seconds that we have to fire for. And for those of you who aren't instant math nerds, that means we're firing the gun for 46 and a half minutes. We are just non-stop firing. It got to the point where I was joining into games, and the first thing I would do in each game, in addition to starting shooting into the air to make certain I used all the ammo available on every map, was to apologize to my teammates for the tinnitus and for wasting all of the ammo on the map. I would have a veteran who was in my chat running alongside me so they could resupply me with survivalists. But all of that together, this is a blessing that is hugely detrimental to teams, because it just isn't accomplishable in a reasonable amount of time, even if you are using the Atlas as your main weapon of choice. You know, you are not firing for even 5 minutes per game of consistent firing, right? You have to go completely out of your way to get this much lead down range. I know it's a penance, I know it's supposed to be difficult, but that's resources that other people could and do need, and I'm just shooting it into the wall because that is how you would get this penance. And so, I mean, all this whole time you've seen this footage running of me just shooting and shooting and shooting, and that's what it is. That's how you do this penance, and it's mind-numbing, and it's ear destroying as well. So this one has to change. This number needs to go down. It's too much compared to some of these other ones you can accomplish in one ultimate. You know, a good lineup with Gone Bowling is all you need. Crowd control, frag bomb, kill these enemies. That takes maybe 7 to 10 missions. Shooting this many rounds takes dozens of missions if you are not stealing every piece of ammo on the entire map. Okay, Going on from there, I have one more, or I have another one to have an issue with. It's the flame grenade blessing or penance. This one is bugged currently, which is irritating. I really wish that this number was lower. In addition to it being bugged, it is pretty much requires a consistent team setup and coordination between members of the team to get this penance going, and I think that means it should be relegated to private parties as well if you really do want to still have it be a penance. Otherwise, asking for 2,000 enemies to die to immolation grenades is really rough, especially on higher difficulties. A lot of these penances get harder on the higher difficulties, and Purging Flames falls into the same category as the next penance I want to talk about, in that if you play on low difficulties, there's not enough enemies to go around. But if you play on high difficulties, the enemies have so much health that your dinky little immolation grenade takes forever to kill them, and they're very likely to die to some other source of damage, or whatever. So that is one that I really think the number needs to be a lot lower, and that should go hand in hand with this lovely thing in the offensive category, or the tactical category, blowing up 2,500 enemies with an explosive barrel. Note, this does not count the flame barrels, which would be way easier to kill enemies with. This is only the yellow barrels, and the problem is, what are the easiest enemies to kill? It's the poxwalkers. But on the harder difficulties, when there's more of them on the map and you can get them grouped up near a barrel, they have enough health to survive a hit from a barrel. And on the lower difficulties, you can't get enough of them around. I have been playing this game for 1,600 hours, and I don't know when this particular penance came out, but this is all the progress I have just playing normally. I am even a pretty avid barrel shooter to disrupt enemy formations and take out enemies, and this is all the progress I have. So this is just a absolutely monumental task, and it's well out of the scale of any of the rest of the things that it requires you to do here. And then the final thing I want to talk about is the missions that it requires you to do. Doing Hold Your Breath, the Poxgas missions, and the Lights Out missions, and to a lesser extent the Ventilation Purge. The Ventilation Purge is not that bothersome, but Poxgas is really annoying. You can see I'm saving that for last. Lights Out is pretty damn annoying as well, just having to wander around in the dark. I can't even really stream it because people don't want to watch a mostly black screen. And yeah, I wish maybe these were a little bit lower to allow for some more variety. And speaking of variety, we have to talk about the exploration ones last year, because these exploration penances, there is a penance in each of them that requires you to play maps in that area, like Chasm Terminus, 50 times total. Well, Chasm Terminus is home to several different maps. It's home to Ascension Rise of 31, Chasm Logistratum, and Hab Draco. So that's pretty cool. Like, you get to play, and Chasm Station. So you can play 4 different maps, and you just have to play them total 50 times. So if there's one you really like, you can play it a bunch, and maybe you'll play the other ones like 10 times each. So that seems fine and balanced. Where it gets imbalanced is that there are a couple of categories in here that do not have that same luxury. The Void Tour of Duty requires you to complete 50 missions in the Void. Do you know how many maps take place in the Void? It's exactly 1, and it's Clandestium Gloriana, which is a very long map, the snow map, and you have to do it 50 times, just that one over and over. And the really unfortunate thing about this in particular, just Clandestium Gloriana in particular, is that it is not eligible to receive any of these blessings. There is no such thing as Clandestium Gloriana with Ventilation Purge, Hold Your Breath, or Lights Out. I have never ever seen it. I can't find it anywhere on my add-on that scrubs for the correct missions, so I can specifically queue into these missions. It just doesn't exist. So that would save me a lot more time if I could do that at the same time, but I can't. So I just have to run 50 of the same one mission, which is just crazy. This would make more sense being 25, since there's only one mission in that area. And the same thing goes for operations, but to a little bit lesser extent, because there is only one operation right now. I know you could say, Mr. E, why don't you just wait until there's more operations and then it won't be so mind-numbing to do it? No, I want to get it now, but you can see it took me 3 days of playing pretty much only like just running through these 10-minute long rolling steals. You know, I did complete 50 rolling steals. They each take 10 minutes. That's 500 minutes. That's like 8.5 hours of rolling steel. That is way too much rolling steel. This should be scaled down, and the second tier should be the maximum tier. You know, if you're trying to push people to have completion for these things, like, you know, it just doesn't feel right when there's only one map to have them doing all 50 on that same map. It's mind-numbing. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about penances. There's just a couple of them that stick out to me as really, really sore spots. And I hope you enjoyed this little short bit. All right, love you guys. Bye.